It looks like we are live. What's happening, everybody? If everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. So, coming in on a bit of a late show this evening. Going to be a bit of a quick show, too. But it looks like the Demon 170s are finally making it to the party, which is fantastic, especially if you've been waiting on a Demon 170 to show up in your garage. There's been a lot of folks that have bought those cars, but the problem is that they haven't been showing up. And it's been, I don't know, way back in since I can't remember when it was that the cars were actually revealed to us. Now, what does this all mean? I mean, does this mean that we're going to start getting content on Demon 170s? Egad, perish the thought. We finally start to see some of these things hit the track in the flesh, putting down numbers just like Racer X just did for you, and start getting these things eyeballs on them in the real world that they were brought up to be run in, which is at the drag strip. But the problem with that is that there's other folks that are going to get their hands on it. It's the other folks is going to be the journos that are going to get this thing, and they are going to absolutely eviscerate it. And it's going to make everybody just kind of yawn when it comes to this car. Guys, don't let the journalists screw up anything and any opinion that you have on these cars. These cars are special in a huge way. Guys, they're putting down over 1,000 horsepower. They're going over 150 miles an hour legit in the quarter mile. Guys, there are folks that are vying for a spot to be the first one that runs one of these cars in as delivered form. And you know who I'm talking about and know who I'm talking to. But in somewhat as delivered form, yeah, get the thing into the 8s. And so I know that there's some folks that are really vying for that. I will tell you guys this, it is still a tall order. I have seen some low 9s come out of this car already, but it's going to take some obnoxious track prep, tire pressure, really getting that down right. Those two things together make all the difference in the world in the quarter mile. To try to run an 8-second quarter mile pass at 150 miles an hour is actually kind of tough to do. You've got to be able to cover that 60 foot. So track prep is huge. Tire is going to be everything. Now then, density altitude. Guys, it's December. In fact, it's the middle of December as I'm running this video through. And, well, the density altitude is really good. We got cold air, dry air. It is going to be an opportunity for guys to get out there and really rip a number if you can get the launch down. This thing's got a pretty significant, well, it can be complicated, launching technique. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but running a car on a trans brake sometimes is and sometimes isn't a good thing. So just know that there's going to be a lot of experimentation. Guys are just trying to get their feet wet and get these cars sorted out. But I can promise you this, if for no other reason, support the guys that are supporting the brand and Mopar. It's the most important part of this. If you're going to have a takeaway, at least rock with that. This is the first time that Dodge has, well, I mean, they've had the car out, I guess, for a while. Anyway, this is the first opportunity for you to see what Dodge was trying to convey when they were talking about all the brotherhoods and muscles and things like that. Now, this is the opportunity for Dodge to finally flex the last of the muscle that they have to flex, which is with that Demon 170 at the racetrack. So, what's it going to take? Are there guys going to be playing with fuel blends? Yes, there's guys playing with fuel blends. What about tire pressures and launch techniques? Well, all of that's going to come into play too. Well, what about weight reduction? See, this is the one thing that the Demon guys, the 2018 Demon guys really took and just ran with it. I mean, there's no rule that says you can't pull weight out of one of these cars, but when you show up and the car basically looks like a shell, you gotta wonder. I mean, you wouldn't have bought the car if it looked like that from the factory, I wouldn't think anyway. At least most of us wouldn't. And so to that point, most of us don't consider that an automobile. I mean, it's got to have an interior. It has to have something familiar when you go up and look at the thing. So there is that. But support your guys. Now, let's talk about this for a hot minute. RacerX just got through showing you guys that this car was going to put down 885 to the rear wheels on what is in essence an eddy current dyno jet. Yes, I nailed the number, but it was more to that. I was actually excited to see that the car laid down a number on, again, it's a loaded dyno jet, not a Mustang dyno, but a loaded dyno jet that was walking in lockstep with what the car was putting down. But the torque value out of that thing was something that was a little bit more interesting to me. The horsepower, I kind of figured it would be in there somewhere. And again, dynos, guys, take dynos with a grain of salt. There's going to be some guys going to say, oh, I should have put down 1,000. Okay, so anyway, look, the car put down, I mean, it was within the window that I gave that I thought the car was going to make. Okay, initially it was like 875, 895, something like that. I just didn't think it was going to cover 9, regardless of the dyno that it went onto, unless it was like a 248 dyno jet or something like that. It would have been difficult. And the reason for that, there's a lot of nannies with just the operating system with those cars as it sits. So you start removing nannies in that thing, and you can actually pick up power just because you're not restricting the car because of a downstream heat issue or speed limiters or all these other little goofy things that can really come into play and make your day kind of not a good day on the dyno. Or it at least shows some areas where Dodge was trying to be conservative to keep these things held together when you're making over 1,000 whole ass horsepower, guys. So anyway, I'm impressed with what the car put down. The IHI 3-liter supercharger is an amazing supercharger, lower inertial parasitic loss than the 2.7, making more flowing more air, which in this case on the same displacement will make more boost. And so we've got ourselves a really hot setup with that Demon 170 with the 3-liter IHI supercharger. Looking forward to seeing what folks end up doing with that package, in maybe other applications here and there later on down the line. But I can tell you this, guys, so far as I can tell, Demon 170 straight up wholly legit. So again, keep supporting the guys that are supporting the brand, because that's really all we've got for now. And listen, I'm one to talk, right? Because I didn't get the opportunity to have one of these cars, but I'm stoked when my friends do. And when RacerX got one, I was so happy to hear about it. It was kind of hard for me to keep my mouth shut because I knew about it a long time ago. But with demonologies coming also, it kind of does my heart good to see my friends do well. So that's a great thing. I will also say this, with really none of the manufacturers giving us anything to look forward to. I mean, Ford, the S650, that's a great car. Don't get me wrong, but Dodge, Chevrolet, really the Z car is about the best you got. Well, Supra 2 out of Japan. We're kind of coming into a weird zone here where we just don't have a whole lot to chat about. I'm hoping that we're going to get something soon from Dodge. There are some grumblings about that Hurricane Inline 6, but we just don't have that yet. We don't have anything really to talk about yet when it comes to that thing. So, look, if you're into Dodge, if you're into Mopar, this is the swan song for all of this. Soak it in. Don't get wrapped up in the how much did it cost and the dealers are assholes and I'll never buy another Dodge again because I got screwed over on this deal, this, that, or whatever. Don't let that negative stuff warp your don't let it warp your attitude when it comes to what guys are doing to try to bring you guys really cool, awesome content. So, with that, let me check in with y'all real quickly. Nitro Crew is in. What's up? Sovereign is in. What's up, buddy? So I was just watching your Honda Rebel 250 video. Thank you very much. Skids is in. What's up, y'all? We are running late tonight, by the way. I'm going to have to wrap this one up kind of quickly. So I just wanted to get on board here and talk a little bit about that Demon 170 and see if you guys had any questions for me. And then I got to check out because I got to wake up early. Lime is in. What's up, man? OC saying, or Sovereign saying OC just got his. Very nice. Sovereign saw Racer X's. Just shy of 900 horsepower. That is right. To the wheel. Sovereign's hanging out with Skids. Yes. Skids, they thought the Supra was straight out of Germany. It's from Japan with all of German DNA. How about that? Which is kind of funny, really, because so I don't know if you guys back when the Supra was very first being introduced, they were going, oh yeah, this is the new Supra. It looked nothing. It looked nothing like what the final car ended up coming out looking like. And in fact, it looked a lot better in the prototype phase. But reality steps in and you have to have certain crumple areas and certain safety things and this, that. So you can't just, how do you put this? You can't just style a car the way that you want because it has to be able to do some safety stuff that's really important to keep the meat bag that's piloting that contraption from getting squished if you get into a wreck. And the guy that was talking about that, oh gosh, man, this has been a hot minute. This was, oh man, this is about a year and a half ago, I guess I ran into this. The guy was going, yeah, we know we know what it looks like, and everybody, it's a good looking car. I mean, you guys know I've got a really soft core crush on the Supra. But they're like, yeah, we get it. It's kind of a little marshmallowy car, but it's got it where it counts. And so anyway, it was just funny listening to this guy talk about the Supra. He's like, yeah, it's not exactly what we wanted, but it's what we got, and it's what we could work with within the confines of the platform that we were working with. Anyway, just kind of one of those things. I see W is checking in. So here's the thing, guys, getting back to the Demon 170s. I'm stoked that they're out. I'm stoked that they're starting to do their Demon 170 thing. This is one thing though that I've got. This is such a, I'm not going to say it's a pet peeve. It's not. Racing's racing, boys. And this is what you get when you're talking racing, right? Everybody's going to try their own little tricks. Everybody's going to try their own little secret sauce to try to cover a number with this car. I was part of, it was Ray and myself with the F8 Green Demon that set the real record early on at a 978 with just a normal Demon. And it was funny because had Ray not covered a 970 anything, I was next up to drive the car, like literally getting my helmet, walking back over to the pits. But that was in an as-delivered car, or at least a one-seat configuration as delivered, which was kind of the gentleman's agreement coming into this. And then the stripping came, and the stripping was a nightmare to behold, because I started talking a 9-yard level of shit to pretty much a bunch of folks, and I couldn't help it. I mean, you had guys that were stripping out the headliner, the door cards, the window motor, the windshield wiper motor, the cowling, all kinds of stuff in an effort to cover a number. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of work that goes into that. You don't just blang and it comes out like it just falls off, right? And you got to take it apart cleanly so that, you don't ruin anything. I mean, Scavenger 1320 has done the best about getting a number out of a car just by making it light. So, I mean, and I applaud his efforts. a lot, as a matter of fact, of his, high level of race preparation. But he's fully disclosed in that. I mean, that's part of what he does, is disclose what he's doing to get where he's going. A lot of these guys weren't. And there's a lot of liberties that are taken with as delivered or whatever. Anyway, I mean, it's not like they're taking the weight and moving it around and ballasting the car either. It's, whatever they're taking off. They're just taking parts off of the thing. And so that's why when I had run the 1008 with my Hellcat, this girl right here, I made sure that I showed everything that I did. I showed the windows still go up and down. The windshield wipers still do the windshield wiper thing. Showed everything underneath the hood. There was nothing really to show. There wasn't that much done to that car, which is, again, what made it even that much more impressive to some folks. So there's that. But, there are some folks that are going to go out there and just absolutely gut these things. Guys, take it with a grain of salt. Racing's racing. There's nothing that says you can't do it. I'm one to talk because, it was just fodder for me to run my mouth. So anyway, there is that to chat about. But anyway, what are you guys up to? Marvelous is in. What up, Mason? Awesome live stream in. Thank you very much. Not a whole lot in terms of, like I say, updates or performance mods or anything like that. I am looking to potentially put a set of upper and lower control arms on Stormy. I think it would probably help that truck a little bit in terms of just trying to maybe cover a number. We'll see. I don't know. I was thinking actually about just seeing if the truck would run a number tonight with as good as the Air is. But I don't know. It actually might be coming up on about the time to do that. But we'll see if it'll actually cover a number. I might be a little bit fat on gas, and I'm running the spare. See what I'm doing there? Weight reduction. And you'd be surprised. Every little bit helps. And actually pulling the spare tire out of the truck does help it cover about, I wouldn't say a tenth. About 700ths though, which is about right because you're taking about 70 odd pounds out of the thing if you remove all that stuff. The jack, the tire, and the tools and all of that. So, it'd be kind of fun to try to get a number out of that truck. But the reality is, guys, whatever that truck runs, it would be slower than the same truck with a Hurricane 6, even if it is the base 6. That's just life. And I can tell you this, after driving the H6, yeah, let me put this into perspective for you, gents. That is a 3-liter. 3-liter putting out 500 and acclaimed 510 horsepower. Double that, and that would be a 6-liter making the other side of 1,000 horsepower. But power per cubic inch, power per liter, that's the same as the Demon on E85. And we're talking the Demon 170. Matter of fact, take that to the next step where it's actually more like 1,080 horsepower because the H6 HO is actually going to be rated at 540. Double that just to get the displacement to be about the same. We're talking apples and bananas here, but you know what I'm talking about. You know where I'm going with this. Could you imagine the H6 with an E85 tune? It doesn't matter which one. The Hurricane 6 430 or 450 horse, whatever it is, or the 540, which is horseshit number. It's got to be more than that. Could you imagine either one of those engines tuned on the Echo Ocho Cinco? Yeah. Step that number up by probably 15, 10-ish at least %. 15 if you're going to be generous. That's a lot of horsepowers, and that is something that needs to be recognized, because I can promise you this, just a tune, stock boost on the corn, that thing is going to pick up a chunk of power like you haven't seen. Keep in mind, it's half the displacement. It's made out of aluminum, and it's less than half the weight. That engine in a car would be obnoxiously quick. Just saying. They do come out with something like that. It might be worth y'all taking a look at. Me, on the other hand, I don't know. I am, right now, the Ram Charger thing has got me a little bit intrigued, or it had me a little bit intrigued. And then the wind kind of fell out of my sails on that. Especially with me doing more bike stuff lately. I'm just having a bit more fun with that. But, SCW approximately 1100. Hey, listen, one thing I do want to tell you guys too. Racer X, let's get to that. I want to break down the number. It was 885, but SAE correction, if I'm not mistaken. Remember that you have to add 4% for standard correction. So you take 885 and you divide that number by 0.96 to get your 4%. You don't just take 885 times 1.04%. That's just marking the number up. You actually have to divide it. You have to get the margin difference. So you take 885 divided by, and I don't have my calculator in front of me. Somebody do that real quick. What's 885 divided by 0.94? You got your calculators up? I don't have it. Anyway, that'll give you an idea for what that thing would have put down on a standard correction. So if you've got that number, what did I say? 884, 885 divided by 0.94. Sorry. That'll give you an idea for what it would make with standard correction. And anytime you're working with a dyno, there are so many different variables. This is, I mean, guys, at one point I had a stack of dyno sheets. OC, my man, what is up? Thank you very much. Congratulations on the new Demon, by the way. Appreciate that, bud. 941 Skids, thank you. And OC, thank you so very much, my friend. So you're looking at, on a standard correction, roughly 940 horsepower to the rear wheels is what that car is going to put down. Again, with SAE being roughly 885-ish horsepower. And this is where a lot of guys get things wrong. They'll say, oh, well, it's corrected horsepower. Well, yeah, it's corrected, but it's corrected to an older standard. It's corrected to a standard that is going to correct to 60 degrees Fahrenheit and a deeper, a heavier barometric pressure. So I am elated that the car is laying down the kind of numbers that it should be. And that we're going to start seeing guys really get a chance to exercise this car the way that it should be exercised. And to put this into perspective, guys, so what puts down that kind of power to the rear wheels? I want to try to bring the conversation into, like, we need to anchor this conversation about power and power production in something that we can kind of understand a little bit more. And what we've understood up to this point was pulleyed, nitrous, blower swamped Hellcats from the past. So to give you guys an idea, so if we want to talk about a generic number, let's go 885, 941. Let's say that, let's say 900 is just an easy, oh yeah, Sovereign, thank you for posting OC's video up. Please, guys, check out his stuff on his Demon, well, OC in general, you guys know OC, but check out his video. He's got his new Demon out. It is awesome. But let's say 900 horsepower is the number you want to pivot from, or 920 is the number you want to pivot from. Somewhere in there, if you want to give it a little bit more credit. Magnuson swapped full exhaust Echo Ocho Cinco with meth injection in some cases, or sans meth injection, but with a small bump on the cam, will get you into that range, depending on how much boost you're throwing at it. I don't really like using the old 4-liter Whipple, or the 4.5. I'm just not a big fan of those if you start to look at what like the 3.0 whip does and the 3.0 IHI does, which is on the Demon 170. Those superchargers are more efficient than what had come before it. So to try to anchor the supercharger to anything other than those is going to be, it's going to be tied to the Maggie a little bit, mainly because the Maggie was the best at what it did in terms of just being incredibly efficient. The Whipples were good at making just huffing a bunch of air, but the Maggie was just more efficient at doing it. And it did it without any muss, fuss, or headaches. So that's another thing. These superchargers that are on the Demon 170, that's a pick up, click, put down onto your Hellcat if you wanted to, provided you have the right software. In other words, you got the right tune to go along with it, along with the hardware, again, provided you've got the fuel system to make all this stuff work. Yeah, you can churn out some pretty sick numbers too yourself, but again, just to get an understanding of what it would take to get a Hellcat to cover that number, it ain't necessarily easy, fellas. And I will tell you this, to kind of carry that a little bit further, the record for stock blower, just in general, stock blower nitrous car. Z had it, and then Brian Sanders had it. I think at one point they were going back and forth before. Well, anyway, it was like an 870 or an 860, I think was the number, and it was about 152 miles an hour, maybe 153. And that is in a car that has been absolutely gutted. Pull the 2.4 IHI blower that comes with the Hellcats pulleyed its ass off. We're talking like a 10 or 12 lower. I think it was a 10 lower with a 255 upper, with a significant hit of nitrous with ice tank and everything else going. We're talking a race automobile, okay? This was not a car that was going to be mistaken for something that you can buy right off of the showroom floor. Yeah, okay, I get, yeah, it's fat. Well, it was faster than the Demon. This isn't one of those things. It's just, look, all of that work and all of that weight reduction and all of that this and all of that is what it took to get a car to go about as fast as a Demon 170 is potentially capable of running right out of the factory. And again, guys, credit where it's due. Dodge did not make the same mistake this go around that they did with the first Demon. If anything, my boys, I have a feeling they may have undersold this car a little bit. And that's a really cool thing. And by the way, 885, if you apply the generic 15% correction factor, it comes out to about 1,050 horsepower. But it's the way that this thing pulls power from basically off idle all the way through the power band. I mean, it's a thing of amazement. So, guys, the main thing I wanted to say in this video, and I apologize, I got to wrap it up a little bit quick. But guys, look, support those that have made the investment to pick up one of these cars. It's, again, the swan song for Dodge when it comes to performance like this, like what we've been used to. There are some other very cool cars coming, but when it comes to just basically taking a sledgehammer and melting iron on an anvil. This is about as close as you can get to that. And I don't know that we're going to be able to see anything like this really ever again. Dodge was the only manufacturer that had the stones to actually just basically whip it out and lay it on the table with a thud when it came to going after EVs and beating them potentially at their own game in a controlled environment at the drag strip. That's really what Dodge did here. And I think that that's an amazing thing. Now, what's to come from Dodge later on? You know, I don't know. I can tell you, though, that, and some are saying Dodge really ended it with a high note. And yeah, skids for sure. Yeah, keep the content coming from the guys like Demonology X, OC. Keep supporting these guys, fellas. Seriously. I mean, this, you know, believe me, you'd get one if you could too. And so keep supporting the guys that are supporting the brand that you love so much. And, but, you know, whatever's coming from Dodge, it's not going to be what we've seen before. It's going to be something maybe a little bit more accessible. Maybe it's a little bit more palatable for some folks. Maybe it's a little bit more realistic in other areas. Maybe it's far and away better than anything you've seen so far on the street. That is really what we can only hope for. But until then, we got to dance with those that brought us to the ball. So with that, guys, hate to cut it short, but I got to wrap it up. I got to clean up and get some stuff sorted out from that Rebel 250 video. If you haven't seen it, I just posted that thing up. It's kind of a fun little video that I just did, but enough shameless plugging on myself. Guys, love each and every one of y'all. Would not do this without you. Get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. Again, OC, I appreciate the contribution to the cause, my friend, and congratulations one more time. And with that, that's a wrap. Adios.